In this video, we will be discussing the Monitor Monitoring Activities page. The objective of monitoring activities is to record the firm's monitoring activities. Monitoring activities are the procedures that will be performed to monitor that the firm's system of quality management is designed, implemented, and operating as required by the relevant standards. Monitoring activities can be found in the Monitor module. This page includes a table that contains network and firm monitoring activities. Network monitoring activities are prescribed by the firm's network firm, where relevant. The network firm will distribute the prescribed monitoring activities, which are then imported in settings. The firm must consider if they are relevant to the firm. Firm monitoring activities are recorded by the firm and are in addition to the network monitoring activities. Monitoring activities included in the table can only be edited in draft status. If a monitoring activity has already been signed off as prepared, the sign-off must be removed before the monitoring activity can be edited. To edit a monitoring activity already in the table, click on the Expand button to show the record of the monitoring activity. Select the Edit button to open the monitoring activity dialog. The content of the monitoring activity is then edited as needed, and the changes saved by clicking on the Save button. Monitoring activities can be deleted by expanding the monitoring activities and selecting the Delete button. If a monitoring activity has been signed off as prepared, the sign-off must be removed before the monitoring activity can be deleted. Note that network monitoring activities cannot be deleted. If the network monitoring activity does not apply to a firm, it will be marked as not relevant only. These monitoring activities are therefore not available for inclusion in the monitoring work program. Only monitoring activities selected as relevant and signed off as prepared will be considered finalized and therefore included in the list of available monitoring activities to include in the monitoring work programs. Every relevant monitoring activity must therefore be signed off as prepared once finalized. A network firm may want to export the network-required monitoring activities to be distributed to network member firms. This function is performed in Monitor Monitoring Activities. To export, click Export. A dialog will confirm that the user wants to export the network firm's monitoring activities. Set a name for the exported file and select Save. The exported data will be saved in the Download folder of the user, from where it can be distributed to network member firms. Network member firms will import this file as network mandatory items. Network imports are done in Settings. The monitoring activity dialog can be completed by either adding a new monitoring activity or by editing a monitoring activity from the list of monitoring activities already included in the table. When completing a network monitoring activity, some of the fields will be pre-populated and cannot be edited. The monitoring activity dialog contains the following fields to be completed. Title, which is the short title for this monitoring activity. The title is visible in tables and when selecting items from libraries. It should therefore be concise, but clearly indicate what the monitoring activity is. ID, which is the unique identification number for this monitoring activity. Type. No input is required in this field. The field is automatically completed based on the process that was followed to include the monitoring activity. Relevant, where the user selects either yes or no. The default is yes, to indicate that the monitoring activity is relevant to the firm. Reason for not relevant. This field appears when the firm has indicated that the monitoring activity is not relevant to the firm. It is a compulsory field. The area is selected to indicate what part of the firm's system of quality management would be monitored through this monitoring activity. Options include responsibilities, compliance with applicable quality standards, risk assessment process, implementation and operation of policies and procedures, monitoring and remediation process and evaluation. The sub-area field appears when the selected area is implementation and operation of policies and procedures. Select firm level and/or engagement level to indicate the level at which the policies or procedures are implemented. When developing monitoring work programs, this indication will assist in identifying the relevant monitoring activities to be included for the monitoring work programs at firm and engagement levels respectively. Select the relevant component of the firm's system of quality management to indicate which component this monitoring activity relates to. Nature. This is the field where the wording of the monitoring activity is recorded. When a monitoring activity is selected from the library, the firm will edit the monitoring activity to align with the firm's unique characteristics. Indicate the timing of the monitoring activity by selecting the relevant option from the drop-down menu. Scheduled means that the execution of the monitoring activity will be performed at specific intervals. Manual means that the monitoring activity will be performed ad hoc. There will therefore be no predetermined intervals at which the monitoring activity will be performed. The frequency field appears when the firm has selected the timing of the monitoring activity as scheduled. The result of the edit frequency functionality is reflected in this field. Include information about the extent to which this monitoring activity will be performed. For example, the extent could include all audit engagements for listed entities only, or inspect the supporting documentation of all matters recorded in the firm's register. Applicable standards. Select the standard or standards that the monitoring activity relates to. Where the firm has only selected one applicable standard, then no selection is required. Authoritative references can be included where relevant. Links, where documentation saved elsewhere can be linked to this monitoring activity. Include any additional notes or comments in the note field. Previously recorded quality objectives can be linked to this monitoring activity using the drop-down menu in the Linked Objectives field. The same applies to previously recorded risks, policy, and procedure responses and tasks. The Effective From field is an optional field and will be left blank if the monitoring activity will become effective immediately once signed off as prepared. When a monitoring activity is only effective from a specific date in the future, that effective date is recorded in this field. The monitoring activity can then be recorded and signed off as prepared before the effective date. The Effective To field is an optional field and will be left blank if the monitoring activity will remain in effect for the foreseeable future. When it is decided that a monitoring activity will no longer be applicable for a specific date, the date on which the monitoring activity will no longer apply to the firm's system of quality management is recorded in this field. The monitoring activity will then be in operation until the effective date is reached. Note that even though a policy or procedure response may be discontinued at a specific date, the monitoring activity linked to that policy or procedure may need to continue for a period after that date to allow the persons performing the monitoring time to perform the monitoring activity. This is especially important for monitoring activities that are performed at intervals only. Fields indicated with a red asterisk indicate fields that must be completed before the monitoring activity can be saved. Fields indicated with a blue asterisk are not required to be completed before the monitoring activity can be saved, but must be completed before the monitoring activity can be signed off as prepared. When the relevant information has been recorded in the monitoring activity, save the information in the dialog. Before continuing with the rest of the monitoring process, the firm should have considered each network monitoring activity and indicated whether they are relevant or not, and recorded any additional monitoring activities that are required to monitor the firm's system of quality management. Each policy and procedure response must have a monitoring activity designed as part of designing the firm's system of quality management. Finally, the firm should have signed off all relevant monitoring activities as prepared. Note that the firm won't be monitoring every policy or procedure response in each round of monitoring. The selection of monitoring activities per round of monitoring will be performed as part of designing monitoring work programs. You now know how to complete the Monitor Monitoring Activities page. This page also contains the following features. Please continue watching for more on the features available on this page. SQM provides the user with various features when working with content in tables. These include group the content by columns, choose which columns to show, filter columns, search for values in columns, expand rows, sort content by columns, and resize columns. Note that customizations made on the view are not persistent, and the table returns to the default view when the page is refreshed. To export data in a dialog or on a page, select the Export All Data icon. A new Excel file will be downloaded to the Downloads folder, from where the user can use the file. Note that this exported file is not in a format that can be re-imported into SQM. To work on an Excel template where content can be imported into SQM, go to Settings, Import. To sign off an item indicating that it is prepared, reviewed, or that the responsibility is accepted, the user selects the Sign Off icon. The Sign Off icon will be replaced by the avatar of the user that signed off. A toast is also reflected at the bottom right corner. To remove the sign-off, select the avatar and click on Remove Sign-Off. The sign-off icon will reappear, and a toast at the bottom right corner will confirm that the sign-off has been removed. Links or URLs can be added to documentation saved elsewhere. URLs can either be to a document in the Caseware Cloud instance or to another location, such as the firm's SharePoint library. To add a link or URL to another document, select the option to add a new annotation. In the dialog, add the link to the field and a note for other users to understand what the document is. Click Save. The newly added link will be indicated by a link icon. Hover over the icon to see the URL and the note for that link. In predefined instances, more than one link can be added. This will be indicated by the Add a New Annotation icon located below the link icon. To add a new item, select the Quick Create icon. Select the item to be added from the drop-down menu. Only items relevant to your role and the module you are in will be displayed. A dialog will open for the newly created item. Complete the dialog and click on Save to save the item, or click on Close to discard and exit. Thank you for watching.